Welcome to the Growth Beyond Limits podcast, a dynamic podcast designed for aspiring entrepreneurs and early stage business owners aiming to reach their first million. Each episode features high impact conversations with business leaders, innovators, and personal development experts who share actionable insights to fuel both professional and personal growth. Growth beyond limits. Go where you need to be. Hey, welcome to the Growth Beyond Limits podcast. This is your area, your spot to learn how to grow and to position your business. Our goal really is to help the business owner, the organizational leader, the entrepreneur grow, position, and scale your business by giving you great ideas, great marketplace principles so that you can become all that you desire to be. And today, I'm super excited because we have one of the best industry thought leaders when it comes to leadership development, executive coaching, who is going to join us for a dynamic conversation on how do we break growth barriers. And so I'm going to go ahead and welcome our guest today, Cotrenia, who is the CEO of
Steel
Blue, and she is doing some amazing work. So I'm not going to read your bio. I'm just going to go ahead and let's have a conversation. Tell us a little about who this dynamic industry leader is.
Well, I am an executive coach. I am a business strategist. I work with companies that are in growth mode. So it's perfect conversation for what we do. Most of the companies that I work with are either transitioning, so they are in the middle of acquisition, or they're thinking about franchising or developing another product or service. And so what I do is go in and help them to build strategy, process around how they're going to do that and just expand their horizon. I work with leaders in the same space. They're usually either joining an organization where they haven't managed a team of that size or a budget of that size. And so we're really kind of taking their leadership journey to the next level, as well as maybe they're looking for the next step in their leadership journey. And so they want to hop out on faith and travel into some unknown territory. We set a map for that and help them to get there.
So you kind of serve as a guide to help people get to their next area of significance, the next season of growth, right?
Yeah.
So before we get into just the business side, so tell us a bit about your leadership journey.
Yeah.
Let's talk to the audience about what makes you go, like as a person, as a leader.
Wow. So my leadership journey started in corporate America. I worked in Fortune 500 companies doing business development, pretty much what I do now, except for I did it within organizations. I worked in the greater New Orleans area in Louisiana, which is where I'm from.
Oh, I love New Orleans. I mean, I go there just for the food. So
yeah, well, we're quite fortunate. We're in the middle of Mardi Gras season, so there's a ton of food and a lot of celebration happening in the city right now. But I grew up in the area. And worked for these companies. And during the time of Katrina, my territory was blown away. And the company that I worked for was looking at moving me to another state. It was a bigger territory. And I was excited about the opportunity, but I knew that I was connected to the community in a way that I just couldn't abandon it during that time. So I went to work for the mayor of our town. She was the first female mayor at the time. And so I went to work for her, just kind of figuring out how do we communicate to the local businesses and community. As you recall, Katrina was like the first of major hurricanes to that degree and devastation. And so we were basically communicating on radio.
Wow.
All the power lines were down. There was no television. People were homeless. We hadn't even begun to get FEMA trailers at the time. So we cleared out the city park and started bringing people down on Friday. And we started talking about, where to put your refrigerator and how do you get resources. And so that journey kind of developed into me working with small businesses and bringing them in. Because, in Louisiana, we're going to have a party.
Yeah.
So we brought in food, we brought in music, we brought in wares, and we just tried to create a space that felt normal to the community. And so they got an escape. During that time, I started working with the bakery that used to bake all our birthday cakes, the T-shirt shop that made all the shirts for my son's baseball team. And I started to learn about their entrepreneurial journey. about the sacrifices they made to get to where they are, and about how their family and everyone around them in their community matters to them. And it's why they stepped out on faith. And I knew at that moment that that's what I was going to do for the rest of my life.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Having that clarity.
Yeah.
Wow. So tell us a bit about your personal, what are some of the hobbies? Because I know those of us in leadership, right? We're so like, focused on just, what do you do for fun? What is,
wow.
No?
I would say what I do as an outlet just actually began during COVID. My grandmother was a gardener. My grandparents had a dairy farm. And so when I was younger, I tried to stay away from all that.
Okay.
I liked the food that came out of the garden, but I really didn't I paid attention, but it was more kind of sidebar.
Mm-hmm.
So during the pandemic, I decided I wanted a garden.
Okay.
We're going to run out of food because everyone was worried about everything at that
Right.
time. I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to make a garden. And so a friend of ours, a family friend, decided he would help me to put together the garden. And then I became a pandemic gardener.
Wow.
So I have leafy vegetables right now in my garden. I have cabbage, I have collards, I have lettuce, I have tomatoes.
When do you find time to garden?
Early in the morning.
Yeah, especially living in Florida right before the sun gets up. Yeah.
Exactly. But it is my way of escape. But what I recognized was it also was a space for growth, right?
Wow.
That I learned so much from my garden about the patience, about the care that it requires, that too much of the light could destroy something growing.
Wow.
Just like not enough rainy days could also destroy something that's growing. And so I try to use those strategies as I think through how I'm helping clients.
So you're even when you're doing something fun, you're finding stuff to take to work. Yeah. So listen, today we're going to be talking to the person who is probably out there who feels that they want to grow, right? And you know that growth was meant for you. And it's not that you can't grow, but something keeps holding you back. So today we're going to talk about the invisible barriers, right, that stop personal growth, not because you're lazy or because you're broken, but because growth is complicated. So today with Cotrenia, we're going to talk about fear.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about comfort zones. We're going to look at burnout, and we're going to look at comparison and how do you move past that? Because most people don't avoid growth because they don't care. They avoid growth because they're scared, right?
Right.
And that person who is listening to this podcast today saying, man, he's talking to me because I am just afraid. So today we're going to talk about what does it mean to overcome those barriers. And we're going to talk about different types of barriers because there's internal barriers.
Right.
There's external barriers. There's barriers that we have imagined in our mind, right? I'm sure you've dealt with people in your journey that has these invisible barriers. So we're going to talk about those internal barriers. So how do we overcome the fear of failure, but also the fear of success? Because a lot of times we talk about the fear of failure, but we don't talk about the fear of success. So, Cotrenia, talk to us about maybe some people that you've coached or that have to deal with some of these barriers.
Yeah. So, fear is a big part of the entrepreneurial journey, I think, because it can be fuel it can be focus, right? But it also can be a hindrance, as you mentioned before. I like to tell people to really think about fear as fuel. You can't allow it to paralyze you. You have to lean into it because somewhere rooted in that fear is a solution. One of the taglines for Steel Blue, or my tagline for Steel Blue, is fueling audacity.
Wow, I love that. Fueling audacity.
Fueling audacity.
Come on.
The audacious behavior that comes with entrepreneurship is second to none. Not everybody can do it. Like, people love the idea of what they think entrepreneurship looks like. Right? Like, if you can go to work whenever you feel like it, you make your own hours, you will never work as hard for anyone as you do for yourself in your entrepreneurial journey. So it's not a job where you're just kind of like laying back and relaxing. You're actually leaning in to every single day that you get up to do this thing.
Yeah.
And so it's important that it's rooted in your knowing that you're doing the right thing for the right reasons. If you're doing it because you're comparing yourself to someone else, if you're doing it because you think that the other person will make me $1 million, but I have no purpose behind it, I have no why behind it.
Yeah.
If you're doing it for any other reason than making an impact, either on the world, on the economy, on people's lives, on the people who work for you, on your family, on your legacy, on what leads you forward, then it's going to be filled with days of fear.
Yeah.
Where you find anchoring is knowing that you're doing the right thing for the right reason, for a purpose that's greater than you.
I love that, because one of the things I've always said is that clarity is one of the greatest things to remove fear.
Yeah.
Once you have clarity on what you're doing, why you're doing it, then the strategy will come, right? So a lot of people operate in fear, not because they don't want to move forward, but they haven't gained that clarity of what it is that I'm designed to do, what it is that I'm called to do. And so I think for me, hearing you talk about when people can find that purpose, it fuels their activity and their behavior.
That's right.
So let's talk real quickly for a minute about some of the internal barriers that people deal with when it comes to pursuing success.
Yeah.
What are some of the internal barriers?
Well, I think that when it comes to entrepreneurship, one of the larger issues that I find when I'm coaching clients is that there is no one around you that understands what you're doing but you.
Right.
And so it's important to build around you what I call an iron tribe.
An iron tribe.
An iron tribe. People around you who challenge you and make you better at what you're doing.
Wow.
You don't need a group of people who are going to always agree with you. That sometimes happens in entrepreneurship, right? Like everybody's like, oh my goodness, that's a great idea. Let's jump on board. You need some people who are going to poke holes in that idea to make sure that you can backfill those holes with solutions.
Right.
So I think that you need to surround yourself with people who are going to challenge. I think you surround yourself with people who are stronger in areas that you are not.
That's so good.
You're good at building a widget. You're good at, solving that particular problem, but you may not be good at finances. And so bringing in people in your life immediately who will help you in those areas. Maybe you don't like social media. Maybe you love social media, but you're not working on your business plan.
Right.
It's finding the people to surround you that help you to kind of come up against those barriers. Most of the barriers when you're in an entrepreneurial journey is internal.
Right.
It's your idea. It's your baby. You're the one who got the why. You're the one who has the answer. The internal issues are often rooted in who we are. And so I think that it's a constant challenge to work on you.
Right.
Know what you're good at.
Right.
And then surround yourselves with people who are good at things that you're not.
Yeah, I think you hit a very important point there about settling the identity issue.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people cannot attempt great things because they don't think that they're great.
Yeah.
And because I always say activity flows out of identity, right?
Yeah.
And so if we can get to the point where we understand who we are and how God has made us, right? And how we're wired, the skill sets, our strengths and our weaknesses. Because one of the things I always tell leaders is that you don't try to build something that doesn't align with how you were built.
Yes.
And so for me, I like to talk about fear being a babysitter, that you have to move out of that fear daycare. One of the things I told, I was teaching at a seminar in California, and I said, a lot of us, we sit in a daycare. It's called fear. And it's just babysitting us. And we never grow up. So let's talk about real quickly, a term I like to talk about, the comfort zone addiction. People who are, we know people are addicted to all kinds of things, right?
Of course.
But some people are addicted to the comfort zone.
Yes.
And what I mean by that is they've become so accustomed to being in a particular place that they they're just addicted to it. So
Mm-hmm.
how do we go to rehab? How do we go to rehab?
Well, I think it starts by, in every addiction journey,
Yeah.
it starts by recognizing you got a problem.
You got it. Yep.
And I'm not moving forward is usually a sign. The procrastination, the fear of focus, the failure of focus are all signs that you have a problem, that maybe your business is doing good, but it was designed to do great.
Right.
Right? You know that this $100,000 is more than you've ever made in your entire life. But that's the floor of where God has designed you to be.
Wow.
And so you have to say to yourself, okay, if I am moving, operating in fear, if I'm procrastinating, if I'm stuck in this comfort zone of this is, nobody in my family has ever had this kind of work, ever spoke on this stage, had this kind of opportunity. I'm trailblazing. Like if I stop now, I've done more than anyone else in my family or anyone else in my friend group. But that's not your call.
Yeah.
You're called to something greater. And it irritates you usually. Yeah. Where there is an issue within yourself or there's a place of growth when you're not content, but you're content. So you're discontent in your contentment, right?
Wow.
That you're feeling that I'm not where I belong, even though everybody else is pacifying me in my contentment.
Yeah.
They're like, you know what? You're so awesome. You're so great. You're the best thing since sliced bread.
Right.
When in reality, there's more inside of you. So I think that when you start to feel that yearning for more, when you feel like that you haven't reached the pinnacle, but it's safe to stay out, then I think you have to go back to the root of the problem, right? You have to go back to where you started and reevaluate. I just made 10 years in business.
Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. And that's the journey that I'm on personally. I know what it looked like. And this is more than I had imagined, but I also know that there's more in store. That I'm not here still doing this thing, still making this impact if God didn't have greater. And if I could imagine this, then I haven't lived out his purpose because his purpose is greater than I could ever imagine, right?
That's so good.
So I think the contentment to the root of your question, how do we get into a state of rehab? It's to challenge ourselves when we start to feel like we have more in it inside of us than we're actually producing.
Wow. That's so good. Listen, one of the things I always tell business owners or people who are looking to start business that comfort zones keep you safe, but it's also where dreams go to take a nap forever. So think about your dream that's been taking a nap for the past 5 years or 10 years. Yeah. And you keep saying, I'm going to get this done. So Cotrenia, if you could talk to someone who's listening to this podcast right now, give us 3 stepping stones to get out of your comfort zone. Look at the camera. 3 stepping stones.
3 stepping stones to get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
First and foremost, it's write it down, right? Write the vision. Part of the challenge in leadership is that you've been talking about it, you've been praying about it, you've been leaning into it with friends and family, but you have not wrote it down. You have not mapped it out. You have not sat down and really planned out, how am I going to execute this idea? It sounds great in conversation at dinner, but it's still not written out. So write the vision. It's a business plan in layman's terms, but you have to sit down and really write it out. The next step to it is lean into the resources that are around you. I believe that as you are walking out your vision, the resources will come. But the resources won't come as you're sitting on top of it. That's not how it works.
Oh, that's so good.
So you have to start walking it out each day, right? Taking it to the confidant, maybe someone who's in finance that can tell you, well, you know what? This is how much money you're going to need. Taking it to someone who's in construction and saying, this is how big the building needs to be. Maybe you're doing something in technology and you need to lean into someone who's an expert in that area. Maybe you don't have anyone in your life who's an expert at all. So that means you have to find the book. or the podcast
Mm.
or the conversations that will help you to better understand where you're going, right? And that you're headed in the right direction with the right resources. And then finally, you have to have crazy faith. You have to be audacious. Every day you wake up, it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be clear. Some days you're going to run up against opposition. You're going to have people who tell you, that's crazy. Why would you quit your job? Why would you move to that city? Why would you take that great leap? Why in the world would you leave this comfortable job where you're able to take care of your family and do all of these things and one day get the gold watch to step out on faith and be an entrepreneur? It's because you are called to something greater. And there won't be people, audience clapping. There won't always be likes on social media. Some of that will be done all by yourself with you and the person who gave you that vision, the faith in your God that you serve.
That's so awesome. So I want to transition with this thought, right? So I want the person who's listening to this to ask themselves, what's the thing that you've outgrown, but you keep returning to it? Because a lot of times we outgrow certain things, but we keep going back to it, whether it be a relationship, whether it be a position that we feel comfortable. I met someone one time who was working at a grocery store, and they were there for 27 years. Wow. And I'm like, did you ever move up a manager? I said, no, I didn't want the responsibility, but they trained the manager who now is their boss. And so they kept coming back to the same cash register because it felt safe and they knew how to scan those groceries. The thing that you know how to do well could sometimes be your greatest impediment to go into the thing that you should be doing, right? And so I want to transition a little bit. Go ahead. Jump in.
So I love that you're saying that, because I think that sometimes the thing that we do well is superficial, right?
Yes.
So you're at the cash register and you think that the thing is being a cashier, but it actually is your leadership, right? It's your communication style. It's your ability to sell.
Yeah.
And so the reason why you're a great cashier is because you're great with people.
Yeah.
It's because they go back and pick up the thing that you said was on sale. Did you catch that they had this on sale today?
Come on, talk about that.
Oh,
I like this.
And then they go back and they get more.
Yeah.
So you think it's superficial, this thing that you do well. You're a great cook, right? You do this volunteer, right? You bake cakes all the time. Everybody loves your cakes. They think you're amazing at it. And you think, because I do it at church or in this volunteer group or for my family, that's my calling.
Yeah.
But it could be that you are maybe someone who can put together things and you do that without reading a recipe.
Come on.
So you're a strategist and you're a builder. So maybe it's not the cakes that the skill is in, it's in your strategy and in your building. So I think that part of our challenge is that we look at the thing, that the manifestation of that, or how people have assigned that particular, and it's usually the world, right? Someone else assigns you that task and then you just kind of rise in it. It's not something that you actually owned.
Wow.
You've just kind of gotten content with it, right? And so I think going back to the thing that you do well and really breaking that down and figuring out what are the strategies, what are the skills that are underneath that task that someone's assigned you to. That really is the gift. The gift is not that you can work at the cash register. The gift is you're a great salesperson. So now figuring out where I take that talent and really utilize it for the greater good.
That's so good. We're going to talk a little bit about the idea of, procrastination, perfectionism. That's but I want to say something real quickly. I was talking to a couple of leaders in a mastermind a few months ago, and I said, we have to watch the compliments that lead to complacency.
Yes.
And the promotions that lead to complacency. What I mean by that is someone says, you're so good at this, and you take that as a poison pill. And now you start to operate in that, and you become complacent.
Yeah.
Oh, you're a great cook. Well, maybe I'm a restaurant owner.
Yes.
And I just settled to just being the cook. Or your boss says you're a great cashier. I'm going to make you the lead cashier. So it's a promotion now that locks you into that thing. So what are your thoughts about that? I mean, you probably never heard someone talk about the compliments of the complacency, but go ahead.
Yeah,
Real quickly
I
about that.
think that it's interesting. First of all, I'm enjoying this conversation. Thank you for just inviting me to this space. I believe that often when we get into a state of complacency, we minimize the gift that we have. And I still believe it irritates you. You don't recognize that it's irritating you, but it does irritate you. When someone tells you a limiting statement that you're just good at, and you know that you're destined for more, it will irritate you. Now, some people, not everyone is going to be an entrepreneur.
Right.
It's not, you can be entrepreneurial where you are.
Right.
But not everyone will step out and actually work for themselves to the degree that we're talking about, to getting to that first million. Those people who have that are irritated in some way in their spirit. Like they know that they are destined for more.
Yeah.
And those are the people we're talking to. I mean, I think that if you go to the job and you do the job well and you do it with respect and with excellence, but you still feel a sense that, you know what, this is not all. I'm supposed to do more. Lean into that.
Yeah.
Lean into that. I think contentment is easy to fall into and be okay with.
Right.
But I think that if you feel an irritation, lean into it.
Yeah. When you have that creative tension.
Yes.
So this is such a great conversation. I know the person who's probably watching this episode or listening to this episode is probably going, so how do I get past this thing? We're going to tell you a little bit how you can get in touch with Cotrenia or myself to help you on your journey. So the last thing I want to talk about is the idea of perfectionism that is masked as procrastination. So perfectionism sounds productive, right? But it's often fear in disguise. And so if you're waiting to be perfect and you're wanting to feel safe, you're probably never going to grow.
Right.
Because there's never a perfect time to take the leap. And somebody goes, well, I'll take the leap in 3 months, or I'll take it, I'm just waiting for these things to line up. I can tell you, most people who succeed, timing was never a factor. They just did it. And because there's no such thing. Because timing is a trap, actually. When you're waiting for the perfect timing, it's a trap to hold you back. So talk to that person, or to me, about how do we get past the temptation to want to wait for perfection.
Wow. So I'm also preaching to the choir because I do have a level of perfectionism.
I do too. I'm addicted to perfection.
Yes. Okay. Well, we're in the same boat. We are rowing down the same river. So this is part preaching to the choir and also just sharing my journey with leaders who struggle with perfection. It is rooted in fear, right? I want it to be perfect, as though you have control to make it perfect. You don't. There's no perfect, right? You fail fast, fail often, and keep moving, right? That's the best way to reach at least some.
Can you say it again? Fail fast,
fail often, and keep moving.
Wow.
As long as you can get comfortable in fast failure, right?
Wow.
Which means you can't procrastinate. You got to make a decision and then own that decision and then move into it, right? And we execute and it fails. Okay, it failed. Failing fast means that I'm not going to hang on to it and try and make it work.
Right.
I'm not going to push it through a square peg in a round hole. Sometimes we get stuck in that, right? We're like, well, if I shave it off here and I shave it off here, and it takes longer to get to the destination because we didn't fail fast. Failing often is important as well. If you get used to failure, if you get okay with the idea that I'm not going to always get it right, that it may not always work, that doors closing are okay. People saying no builds character.
Exactly.
And so if you can kind of lean into that failing often, like it's a part of growth. You're going to figure it out. You're going to test some things. It won't work. You're going to try some things. They may not look like you thought they would. As you continue to tweak, it's a science.
Wow.
As you continue to tweak, growth happens in increments.
Wait. So, don't forget your train of thought. You just said something. Are you saying failure is a science? And growth is a science?
It is. Absolutely.
Okay, so let's go in the lab.
Yeah, I love it.
And let's talk about what does that look like as a science?
Yeah.
Wow, I love that.
Yeah. Well, I think that growth as
Yeah.
a science
Yes.
means that there is strategy behind it, right? That growing is not something that you just toss a seed in the ground and you hope that it works.
Mm,
There's a strategy.
yeah.
And so when you're building your business, the same thing applies. You have to build process
Yes.
around the thing that you're doing. You
Come
can't
on.
just show up every day and do the thing. You have to build process around it. Process is proven over time.
That's good.
If it's working, then it'll continue to produce fruit. But if it's not working, then you'll see that you'll have limitations.
Mm.
So if you're doing something like selling its particular product, and you see that selling that particular product in the morning time, let's say coffee, and after 3 is more successful than selling it at lunch, then you're going to tweak how you sell that particular product.
That's so
right?
good.
You're going to build out time to do that thing. You're going to make sure that your software, your CRM is telling your cashier, you know what? They got a muffin. You should offer them the coffee that complements the muffin. It's afternoon. They're going to get a quick little bite to eat in the afternoon. A coffee to kind of pick them up may go well with that.
Yeah.
So how do you build into your systems processes that will help you grow?
Wow.
You see it's not working. Nobody's drinking coffee at 8 o'clock at night, unless you're me, because I can drink coffee all day. But nobody's drinking coffee at 8 o'clock at night. Hence, we don't get offered it at restaurants.
Yeah.
Building out process when you see what's working moves you forward. When you see it's not working, withdraw and adjust.
Wow.
And I think that so if you understand the system, the strategies, and the process, you can build on it. Nothing is built high or grows fast on a weak foundation.
Wow. Wow.
So if you don't have a strong foundation for how you grow and how you develop, just because you open the business and it's doing well and everybody is excited about it, and you pack it out, you pack out the restaurant the first 6 months, and somebody comes up to you and they say, you know what? I think you should open a second location. But you aren't getting orders out on time, but they're excited because it's new, right?
Right.
Your staff is still kind of fractional. You don't have all the people in place. Your CRM, your system for payments isn't always working. You haven't figured out how I can actually get the credit card machine to work when it should. We haven't figured out how to take online orders, but we're about to move to a second location.
Yeah.
We have a weak foundation.
Yeah.
And then we grow and we wonder why not only does the second foundation look like it's about to fail, but our funders for both foundations are moving out.
Exactly.
It's because we don't have a firm foundation, because our process, our strategy is weak.
Yeah.
And so whenever you're looking to go to the next level, think about your process. Think about where there are holes in your process and how do you fill those holes so that you can move to the next level without hurting yourself or the people that are connected to you.
Yeah. I think a lot of times entrepreneurs make the mistake of excitement and false growth, right?
Yeah.
Which, because you're growing fast and it seems like you're doing well, but then, like you said, if you don't build that structure and that foundation, then if you put too much layers on top of it, it's going to collapse. So
Exactly.
I have a friend of mine who's in the engineering business. He said when they're going to build a building, higher, they dig deeper.
Correct.
Because you need to be able to support what you're putting on top of it. So for the business person listening, you need to build deep before you go up.
Yes.
Right. And so I think a lot of times we make that mistake. So
deep and not wide. Because deep means that you're digging into the thing, the foundation of what you already have.
Right.
And sometimes in business, we think wide, right?
Yeah.
We're like more.
Yeah.
I already have 6 products that are doing well. I've developed these hair care products and they're doing really well. People love them. They're growing hair. They're making people feel the best of themselves, right? These 6 products are doing so well. Instead of digging deep, like how do I bundle those products? How do I get those products in more locations? Instead, I'm going to add 7 more products. I'm going to take the revenue that I got from the existing products and instead of digging deep to assure the foundation of it, I'm going to add more. And sometimes going wide and not deep does not help
It's
a
disastrous.
foundation. It's
Yeah.
disastrous. So I think to your point, and in the construction analogy, digging deep in order to go high is way better than digging wide and then figuring out how do I get anywhere from here.
Listen, we're going to have you come back for another episode because I think this whole idea of growth is so so profound that one episode is not going to be enough. So I'm definitely going to have you come back. I just want to thank those of you who had a chance to watch this podcast or listen to this podcast, that as you think about those growth barriers, as you think about those things that have been holding you back, I hope you got some valuable insight and nuggets. And for more information, click on the show notes, and you can also follow us on levelupoutcomes.com, where you can get some more information on how to grow. And Cotrenia, if people need to get in touch with you, would you give me your information on how to connect with you?
Thank you. So Steel Blue is STEELBLEU in French because of my New Orleans roots. And so you can go onto my website, and there's multiple ways to connect there.
Okay, good. So if you've been feeling stuck, maybe it's not because you're failing. It's probably because you're facing one of these growth barriers. And so I want you to pick one barrier that hit home with you today and ask yourself, what's one small step I can take this week to get out of it? So remember, growth isn't loud. It's usually quiet, messy, and brave. So if this episode helped you, share it with someone who's feeling stuck. And we hope to see you on another episode of Growth Beyond Limits. Thank you for tuning into the Growth Beyond Limits podcast. To follow us for more episodes, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and all social media platforms. Also, to get downloadable PDFs, visit us at levelupoutcomes.com, levelupoutcomes.com. Growth Beyond Limits. Go where you need to be.